G'day YouTube, how the heck we doing? It is Foul Play here, and we're back for some more Pioneer action. So our trials of the format prior to this have not been super successful with green-white variants, but today we're going to be picking up the Ozohv aura list, which just moves away from the green color entirely. This is actually a tier 2 deck, and it gets some really sweet protection cards like Thoughtseize, or I guess that's interaction cards like Thoughtseize, Fatal Push, and Deadweight. This list is by Kaka, that I found on MTG Decks, and he's been running it fairly regularly and doing fairly well with it from what I can see. So in the creature slot, we've got Selfless Savior to protect our creatures. We've obviously got the big hitters of SRAM and Floofy Paws over here. We've also got Izzet of Life's Bounty and Hateful Eidolon. So that's it for all of the creatures. You'll notice the Izzet and Hateful Eidolon have enchantment in their typing. So they're going to give a buff to an aura such as All That Glitters and Ethereal Armor. Outside of that, our auras are mostly a wish board. We've got Kaya's Ghost Form at 1, Sentinel's Eyes at 2, Cartouche at 2, Rune of Sustenance at 1, and Grispoon at 4. With the sideboard, we also get access to some other sweet tech. We got Banned Trailblazer here, and this comes in against Burned. Fiendslayer Paladin against Black decks and against Burn. Guildscorn War, I guess there's situations where you might need protection from creatures that are multicolored. I'm not super familiar with that. Rest in Peace in Graveyard combo decks, and obviously removal when needed. That's the deck, guys. Let's get into this one. Alright, so here we are for the first match. We won the die roll, and looks pretty reasonable. I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. We're versing a Gigantha deck as well, and it has that as a companion. Also, let me know if you hear any feedback from my air conditioner. I've got it on the quietest possible volume that it can be on. I know people had issues with that sort of stuff beforehand. So hopefully that on the quieter setting is not an issue here. Opponent with green-red, so we're versing some Gruul. Line-wise elves here. Okie dokie. It's awkward because we've got 3/2 mana cards in hand currently. And just like attack, gain 1 life. We can All That Glitters attack. I think All That Glitters attack is fine, because that's going to be like gain 3 life. And if it dies, we draw a card. Right? Whenever enchanted creature control dies, draw a card for each aura you control that was attached to it. So it would just be trading off with the creature, and the All That Glitters would get replaced by a random card. Also, I'm not super familiar with Pioneer as a format. I'm not going to pick up entirely on all the decks that I'm versing as quick as I would if I was more familiar. And card names and things like that, I might recognize a card's like what it does and then not remember the name just yet. So please keep that in mind. Alright, so our opponent missed a land drop, and I guess they're sort of potentially holding up stop. Hateful Eidolon is pretty well protected at this point. Let's play Bright Climb Pathway, pardon me, on white. We'll go for Selfless Savior off the top here. If our opponent's got interaction, we'll get them to do it now before an aura is floating. Beseiju on our creature. Alright, well that's a pretty good timing on their part. So we're going to get a mana source here. We can just go for a plains to start reloading the board and start drawing some cards. Alright. So SRAM into Cartouche of Solidarity, draw a card. Alright, well that's a pretty good rebuild, especially considering our opponent is down on tempo. Also, our opponent didn't just miss a land drop, they specifically chose to hold their land drop in hand, trying to blow out this Hateful Eidolon. Just concedes all of a sudden to the rebuilded board state. Alright, wonderful. I'll try to fumble my way through sideboarding on this one. Okay, so it looks like our opponent actually conceded the whole match then. It's likely we're versing like Gruul Midrange, Gruul Vehicle sort of deck. But yeah, we'll take that and move on to the next match. Alright, so this time we have lost the die roll versus Mud Disguise. Opponent is keeping a 7-card hand. I think this is pretty reasonable to keep. We'll do the same. Opponent with Hive into Thoughtseize. Is this like Rakdos Midrange or something else I'm not familiar with? Alright, so it looks like our opponent has taken away our interaction there. And Concealed Courtyard. I think we shot Godless Shriner in to conceal a little bit of information here. Pass back to our opponent. Obviously, they're trying to protect whatever they've got going on as opposed to interacting with us. If they were to choose a card that was not Thoughtseize in our hand, I would say it would probably be Griffspoon and then just hope we don't draw auras. Because any of these creatures without like any protection is pretty damn weak. So now a Swamp from our opponent, and looks like they're passing to us. So it could be quite likely that they're holding up some description of interaction here. We found a Floofy Paws, which is kind of nice. This only works on auras, so our enchantment creatures are not going to trigger it. Let's put Selfless Savior onto the battlefield here. Our opponent is going to do Power Word Kill, destroying our creature. So for 2 mana, destroy target non-angel, non-demon, non-devil, and non-dragon creature. God, that has got to be one of the Dungeons and Dragon variant cards, right? Yeah, look at that filthy dragon logo. All right, so opponent plays Misery Shadow. Whenever a creature an opponent controls die, exile it instead. It has a fire breathing type effect. 1 mana up for our opponent as well. I think the best line here is probably just to go in on Floofy Paws. See if our opponent's got some description of response for this. We shouldn't need the lifelink from Asled's Life Bounty. Alright, so that resolves. I assume the correct card to get here is Kaya's Ghost Form. So I'll go ahead and do that one. No attacks from us this time. Alright, and nothing from end of turn from our opponent there. Remember this little guy, we need mana up to activate it, but we do have Selfless Savior to help protect our guy. Alright, and our opponent just plays a land and passes to us, so 3 cards in hand now. Alright, I think we're just okay attacking in the air here. I don't see any other lines of anything to do pre-combat. It's possible to hold Hateful Eidolon in hand. Sure, let's just go ahead and give that one protection there, or indestructible. Maybe I should sacrifice the Asled's Life Bounty there instead, but if I draw Ethereal Armor with glitters, it's probably better that it is on the battlefield at that point. Alright, and we'll Hateful Eidolon second main, passing the turn. Alright, so Grave Trespasser for our opponent. So interacts with the graveyard. Alright, and has like life gain effects on all of that. Well, I don't see any real point in blocking what our opponent has going on. They have got this day-night mechanic going now as well. Alright. SRAM's not the best one. It's possible we should play it out to play around discard effects. And I think the way that Day-Night Bound works is it's only for the active player. Or maybe it's for only the player that plays the Day-Night card. I can't quite remember. Sure, we'll find out soon. Urborg from our opponent. Alright, so this is looking a lot more like mono black mid-range as opposed to the Rakdos one we were concerned about a little bit earlier on. Can't see myself blocking this. Opponent can buff it up quite a few times. They choose not to. Invoke Despair. Target opponent sacrifices a creature. If they can't, they lose 2 life and you draw a card. Then repeat the process for enchantment and Planeswalker. Okay. Well, that's annoying. We're going to lose a creature and an enchantment. Well, if we remove Floofy Paws here, we'll get a card draw off the Ghost form, and Floofy should return from the Ghost form. And Griffspoon's just going to end up in the graveyard regardless, so we'll go for that. And we find another floofy paws off the top. What a fucking punishment, man. That is so sad. It's only on cast effects giving us that one. Okay. Invoke Despair. It certainly has. Maybe we should go in on the Hateful Eidolon to start gaining some life here. Sure. It potentially sets up for a worse attack in a future turn, because if we top deck Aura, the Aura is not going to be going on to... Well, the new Aura is going to be going on to Light Paws, right? Alright, so gain a couple of life there. Full point life swing. See what our opponent has now. This guy has flipped. God, have you got more of that rubbish? Another Invoke Despair. Apparently the deck runs 4 of them, so I guess we shouldn't be too surprised here. God, this is really good into our enchantment creatures, isn't it? Fortunately, we can choose the Griffspoon as well there. And... oh, the... how does that work? So it doesn't die. It gets sacrificed and it never goes to the graveyard. Replacement effect into exile because of this guy. And goodbye Griffspoon and Ghost Form. Alright, we need to top deck something reasonable here. Could go for the old double block. That could potentially be beneficial to us. Alright, I think it's going to be hard winning with this guy on the battlefield. If our opponent has Fatal Push, we're like super screwed. We'll just see what happens here. Alright, so all of that trades off, and this little fucking Grave Trespasser got our opponent a fair bit of value. Of course, we do actually brick, so that's pretty unfortunate. And I guess we can play this guy out because our Azleet Life's Bounty will protect it. Hopefully we can actually draw an Aura, because we've drawn 0 auras this game, 7 turns deep. Liliana of the Veil. Yeah, lovely. Alright, Sign in Blood from our opponent. If that's all they've got, we've got a hope. We got a chance. You kidding me, right? You fucking kidding me, deck? What is this shit? Are you... oh my goodness. No point holding it in hand because Liliana plus. Alright, opponent with the plus on Liliana here. Another Invoke Despair is 5 mana, right? Oh, what was this? Puts 2 -1/-1 counters on Floofy Paws. Alright, well, I think our opponent is well and truly winning this game. I don't see us winning through Liliana and everything else. Of course, now we finally draw the card. Let's concede and go to sideboarding. Alright, so this is going to be a bit of an interesting matchup because our opponent is heavily interactive. The creatures shouldn't be too problematic mostly, as long as we've got a couple of auras down. If we've got our first strike, if we've got our flying, we should have a much better time. We have to remember Murderous Rider does have that removal effect attached to it. We do have good protection built in this deck though. Liliana of the Veil, obviously a big issue. I think their removal spells are probably less of an issue, but their discard and their Invoke Despairs are going to be pretty painful. Alright, excuse me there, guys. A few hiccups are sporadically joining the fray. Alright, so from the graveyard, there's more terrifying stuff. So we got some more discard, more removal, and just a massive bloody sweeping effect, which has been problematic in the past. So going into sideboarding here, I don't think we want creature removal against our opponent. Maybe Deadweight is good enough. Yeah, it's possible for Deadweight, but it depends on what we want to take out. Finslayer Paladin should hopefully be a beast in this matchup, though. I think pretty much all our cards are important, so I'm just not going to bring these in, and I'm just going to look to sideboard 2 cards out. It's possible because we're bringing in a couple of creatures. Let's just take out some creatures and keep the card counts where they should be. God damn it. Sorry, I keep knocking that boom arm there. The pop filter, pardon me. Alright, so we've got one aura, and then we've got a couple of good creatures, 2 lands. We'll go ahead and keep this. It looks pretty good. And our opponent is down to 6 cards here. Alright, and it looks like our opponent is passing the turn to us. Let's go ahead and Godless Shrine here, paying a couple of life, and we'll just go ahead and attack with our Life's Bounty, as Led's Life of Bounty. Get the damage in there, hopefully. Alright, I don't really think like throwing down all the glitters is going to be like super beneficial to us here. I think we mostly want to just like curve out. If we can drop all our auras on Fiendslayer Paladin, that would be really, really good. We'll just have to wait and see how the game plays out. Our opponent plays down a second land. It looks like they're passing to us now. Ethereal Armor off the top, so we haven't quite got what we wished, which was our land drop. I think this is sort of like an awkward spot. We don't really want to play out too many things. Maybe we can throw down some flying, attack with both creatures. We've got like 1 protection effect up. I think that's about the best. I like that better than playing Saram and Saram just dying to Fatal Push or something. Our opponent has this one, so we can sacrifice this. Target creature enchantment you control gains protection from the color of your choice. So let's go ahead and activate this. Choose target creature you control. And we're going to give it protection from black. Alright, so that is a removal spell out of our opponent's hand. Opponent plays out Misery now. And there is the Fatal Push at sorcery speed. Thoughts is, man, we are so getting punished this match. It's really frustrating. I don't think just jamming Shram is the best thing in the world. Let's look to find out what our opponent has going on here. Goodness gracious. Extinction Event, Power, Word Kill, and Sign and Blood. I think the most problematic one there is Extinction Event, so let's go ahead and take that one away. So we can see if we hit our land drop, Fiendslayer Paladin should be really, really strong. Into all of this, as long as we dodge like Liliana of the Veil, Edict effect. Pump, pump, pump. Alright, and we break on our land drop again. Oh, God. Really don't want to play this out into just their like mana being up. It's like super feels bad at the moment. We're losing to ourselves. Like kept a 2 land hand as well, and 5 turns in, no 3rd land drop. Alright, so opponent attacking with Misery. Going to pump it up a few times. I wouldn't be surprised if they just leave the 2 mana up for Power Word Kill. Alright, cool. We finally find something of relevance, and let's like slam this bad boy on the field. No second thought. Alright, so like an Extinction Event. Also Liliana of the Veil can get us here. Invoke Despair just makes us sack it. Yeah, Invoke Despair is pretty good too. Alright, so we're down to 6. Can untap start going on SRAM? Maybe. We need something to protect it from Power Word Kill though. And also our life total is extremely low. So I guess it's just Ethereal Armor, see what we can hit. I think we're just doomed at this point. I think we spent way too many turns just trying to hit our land drops. And, yep. All right. So it's going to be GG and on to the 3rd match. All right. There it is. All right. On to the next one. We also should have noted from that previous match, lots of die roll here. Going to keep this hand. But in the first match against that black opponent, if instead of tutoring Kai's ghost form, we tutored Sentinel's Eyes, we would have had a much better time because we drew like runner 2-drop creatures. We had multiple Floofy Paws, and just getting the multiple draw triggers off SRAM plus Floofy Paws would have been way more important than just getting that protection. So that was a pretty big misplay from me. Opponent keeps 7 cards here, Nick Spawn. And our opponent plays Hall of the Storm Giants, passing to us. Seems like a pretty good time to just go ahead and Thoughtseize, see what's going on. Opponent not too happy about that one. There's the Spell Pierce. All right, how many times do I have to click no for this freaking card? Every time, man. Every time. And Ottawa now, so double blue versus Ledger Shredder deck. Unconcealed Courtyard, so I think playing out Floofy Paws past Counter Magic here is probably quite good. I'm not super sure of what our opponent has got going on. I could be running this into a different land drop and then removal. I'm not entirely certain. So a quick search here says mono blue spirits. Is it Pyromancer? Is it Drake? And is it Pheonix? So very likely our friend here is just dying. Ledger Shredder now. I'm not sure like why that was such a long-standing, like difficult conclusion to come to for our opponent. So I guess with the added information, maybe I should have played out Selfless Savior plus Thoughtseize. So apologies for the misplay there, guys. It's going to be pretty hard to win without Floofy Paws in and about. Fiery Impulse, Charter Course, okay. And opponent attacks for 2. At least our life total is pretty healthy here. We'll kick things off with the first of the first. Treasure Cruise in hand. Yeah, I'll take that away 100%. We can play out our Selfless Savior here. A couple more connives for our opponent, so that's going to suck. Really glad to get rid of Treasure Cruise. That is terrifying. And an Arc-like Pheonix to the grave as well. I think we probably want to bring this one out. Cartouche of Solidarity, get a second creature happening. Alright, so it looks like we are versing the Izzet Pheonix deck, and they also have Thing in the Ice as 2 of, Arcline Pheonix as 4 of. Plenty of removal, plenty of permission, and card draw. Even taking turns, Temple Trespass, holy smokes. Who knows what our opponent has drawn? Might be better off going in on the Warrior token here. Just so we can give protection in response to a removal spell instead of having it floating on the stack for Selfless Savior and then just dying. So more connive for our opponent. I guess this gives them the chance to find a burn effect too. Maybe I could do this second Ethereal Armor post-combat. Is that a little bit crazy? Or are we just assuming that they break Spikefield Hazard to the grave and Stormcarved Coast to the grave as well? I guess we probably don't want to give our opponent the connive trigger, right? Big attack though. Big attack. Likely though, our opponent's got 6 power on the board currently. We're like a lightning bolt away from dying. Not sure if they have specifically lightning bolt or not, but still pretty low. Pieces of the puzzle from our opponent. Alright, chooses to find Treasure Cruise and opt. So the others are in the graveyard? Yeah. And shocking in a Steam Vents here. I guess they're just looking to cruise, maybe block one creature, attack with the other. Alright, opponent chooses to play opt here. A couple of Ledger Shredder abilities coming off. And we can see Galvanic Iteration to the grave, opt to the grave. Whenever you cast your next instant or sorcery spell, copy it, choose new targets for the copy with flashback as well. That's pretty good value. The opt ended up scrying bottom, so 2 known cards in our opponent's land hand. They've played their land drop for turn. We know about Treasure Cruise, pardon me. Attacking for 5 over there. Got them like 1 off dead. That's pretty heartbreaking. Can we hit like another aura? That should maybe do it. Let's see. Because Hateful Eidolon is an enchantment, so it's going to buff up our enchantments. Opponent has 5 damage on Crackback, and we're only going to have 7 damage there, so just slightly off a lethal, unfortunately. And no sort of flying on our side of the board to block Ledger Shredder next turn. Really unfortunate. That was a very close match. I reckon the die roll was about all that can decided this one. Sorry about the stutter there. Alright, turn 6 our opponent, and strangely enough, they do realize that they have lethal here. No sort of flying on our creatures to block. Alright, so here we can see an Izzet Pheonix deck. We can see Sort of removal of Fiery Impulse, Lightning Axe, Spike Field Hazard to an extent. So more removal in a Braid, more Thing in the Ice in the sideboard potentially as well. Brother's End, which also does a bit of removal, could be frustrating for us with the 3 toughness sweeper. And a Crackling Drake, and that big body in a long grindy game could be really, really strong as well. So here I think we probably want Fatal Push and Rest in Peace. Fatal Push answering both Ledger Shredder and Thing in the Ice is going to be pretty strong. Rest in Peace answering their graveyard interaction. Phoenix Paladin is a consideration. I think it's just going to be a little bit slow, and we've got a lot of other cards that we're wanting to board in anyway. Alright, so I think flying is less important here, so we'll trim on some Griff Spoons. We'll remove our Cartouches and we'll remove our Hateful Eidolons. Let's get into it. Alright, so our enchantments are pretty weak here. They're only creature enchantments. Our creatures are pretty weak here. We've got Fatal Push, which we'd probably prefer to see a Thoughtseize in that spot. So we'll mulligan. Our 6 actually looks significantly worse. So down to 5. Keep this one and bottom. I think that's pretty reasonable. Sentinel's Eyes, we can get some protection for it. I would probably want to Godless Shrine here. I think that white's more important than black in this matchup, as far as multiple mana sources to have. So we can see Brother's End and Rendering Volley. Might be able to race Rendering Volley, Brother's End a little bit. I don't think we can race Rendering Volley. Let's go ahead and get rid of that one. Opponent shocks in their Steam Vents, so we'll just assume that they not hit the all-important burn effect here, and just play this guy out bravely into the unknown. Opponent with another Steam Vents, this one in tapped. So 2 new cards in hand from our opponent. Sure, let's try for another look. If this gets hit by Spell Pierce, it gets hit by Spell Pierce. If not, we might take Brother's End, and then Sentinel's Eyes gets countered by Spell Pierce. Alright, opponent just cashes in the Spell Pierce there. That's fine. So we don't actually lose the life from that one either there. And I've clicked on the wrong freaking card. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, that's not good, but we still have protection from red. Sorry for that, guys. That's really, really bad. Alright, so opponent with Fiery Impulse now. Alright, so we'll give this guy a little bit of indestructible here. Damage marked and goes to us. We find Ghost Form off the top. That's an interesting one. So the least valuable aura in hand is Sentinel's Eyes. If our opponent's got another 1 mana burn effect, I guess they have it. Looks like that one resolves, which is very good for us. So let's just go pretty darn hard here. Alright, that's all our 1 mana auras used up now. No more free tutors at 1 mana. Hit our opponent for half their life. We should also note they missed a land drop too, which is pretty important to know. Consider from our opponent. And we can see opt into the graveyard off of that Surveil. And our opponent concedes without playing any other land drops. I guess they're looking specifically for a creature to block with. Maybe they bricked on land, I'm not sure. I think our sideboarding is still fine. Maybe we should only be at like 3 copies of Fatal Push. I'm sort of like terrified of Thing in the Ice though, from back when that was getting played in Modern, so I'll just be like a little hyper cautious. And it does hit Ledger Shredder too, which is pretty strong. Guess a consideration is 1 Griff Spoon out, 1 Cartouche in, just to give us 1 extra 1 mana aura as like a wish board effect. It should be okay. Alright, so this hand looks pretty reasonable. We only have like 1 Griff Spoon as far as enchantments are concerned, but we do have interaction of Thoughtseize, a couple of creatures too, so we'll keep this one. When it has a mulligan to 6, and looks like they've finally settled on a 5 card hand. We know that their deck can have oodles and oodles of card value, so it doesn't really mean too much. Opponent potentially just holding up Spell Pierce here, so there's no point running out Thoughtseize just yet. Might as well develop a creature as well. Alright, and they did actually scry to the top with that op. We see Steam Vents, Shock, and Young Pyromancer. Funky. I think we're fine with Godless Shrine here. This seems like a good point to cash in our Thoughtseize. See, double pieces of the puzzle. Sure. So the most sense would be just like fly in the air at their face, start attacking, gaining life, dealing damage, etc. Alright, so opponent plays their pathway on the red side, pieces of the puzzle now. So you like some pretty reasonable hits for our opponent. Brother's End is pretty strong. Fiery Impulse is more removal. Ledger Shredder, yeah, like all of this is good stuff they've hit. No dead hits. Looks like they keep Fiery Impulse and pieces of the puzzle there. Sure. Doesn't have like a flashback attached to it. Doesn't look like it. But attacking for 2 with the Pyro. I'm really glad we kept this Grip Spoon. Pyro could have been a big issue. Alright, so this one down, and then we'll go ahead and set this one up a little bit further. Go ahead and attack, and we got some protection happening here for the Fiery Impulse. Opponent plays Ledger Shredder. That's a pretty good top deck. And Fiery Impulse over here. So let's go ahead and give our creature protection from red here. That'll be A-OK. Pyro trigger, Ledger Shredder trigger, and Ledger Shredder connives Charter Course. Spiral Bluff Canal is played from our opponent, 1 card in hand. Opponent just passes to us there. Let's go ahead and get a little cheeky attack in. Gain some life. Potentially we're supposed to, as leads post-combat. I don't think it's like super important though, because we just reload all our stuff onto the next one if they hit their drop, and we can deny the connive, which is probably slightly more important. Pieces of the puzzle from our opponent. Lightning Axe. Yep, all the removal. Sad times. Chooses a Fiery Impulse and Treasure Cruise. Alright. Deals 2 damage to target creatures, so they can't quite do that just yet. Treasure Cruise though. Getting their connive now. Alright, well, we're in an okay spot. We get to untap with this guy. We're getting close to forcing the chump with Ledger Shredder too, which is nice. Opponent has had a giant reload though. Oh, and land into Fiery Impulse now. Oh, that's so annoying. Okay. Well, we're in a bit more trouble now off of tempo. Opponent's going to get connive with Ledger Shredder too. More mana. That's what we want to see at curving out perfectly, right? Okie dokie. Ditch. What do you mean? I clicked on 2 of them. Give them that effect there. Get back. If we get back our other Sentinel's Eyes, Grifspoon goes away, and that's... I don't know if we can win with Grifspoon going away. I guess I probably should have just returned Grifspoon for 4 mana instead of giving the connive. Arc like Pheonix in the grave now, 3 in hand. I think most positions are losing, but like maybe we just assume that our opponent doesn't have it. Doesn't have removal, and that the Grifspoon isn't needed. I don't know. I think I misplayed that. It would have been better with Grifspoon, Sentinel's Eyes on our creature. I think we need the tempo though. Ledger Shredder number 2. And a Braid from our opponent. Yep. Alright, well, opponent hit their value and they hit like 3 million removal spells, so that's going to be this game pretty much wrapped up. I'll see what comes off the top. We could hit like Floofy into Sentinel's Eyes, trigger, life gain, like we could get extremely lucky. I think this one's over. Another effect with like lightning axe at face. No, at their own creature. Okay. Attacks. So we go from like 17 to 6, and that's all she wrote. GG's opponent. Alright, so here we are for the fourth match of this Pioneer League. We lost the Daryl here. Opponent has kept a 7. I think we can keep this off the balance of things. Maybe we get like a little bit unlucky with this one. Looks like we're versing a Millvine deck. Okay. Yeah, well, Thoughtseize seems kind of important now and was an extremely good draw. Let's go ahead and cast that. So we see Stitches Supplier, Otherworldly Gaze, Prized Amalgam, Breaking Entering, target play mills 8. All of these look horrible. I guess we take the Stitches Supplier. Alright, opponent with Otherworldly Gaze now. And hits a Narcomoeba. Plays a land for turn as well. I don't think these Thought Seizers are going to be very good from this point forward. Play out our guy and look to pass the turn. What do you mean? I clicked on it. Oh, they just drew a murderous cut and absolutely wrecked our face. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Yep. That happened. Right on time, another creature. Alright, so I guess we'll play this one. It's just like an out and out destroy effect. That's pretty annoying. I'm pretty sure these are still the 3 cards in the hand as well. Otherworldly Gaze being instant speed. I guess we can Thoughtseize to remove breaking, so our opponent doesn't get that mill 8, and they're relying on Otherworldly Gaze plus Prized Amalgam. Seems reasonable. Alright, so let's Thoughtseize in response here. In response, I know the way things work, right? Otherworldly Gaze from our opponent. God, and we can see 2 Silver Smelt Ghouls to the graveyard and 1 kept on top. It's pretty horrible. Alright, pass the turn. Opponent attacking in the air with this Narcomoeba. I think that smells removal, really. Tome Scour. Okay, no, just milling 5 gets another Narcomoeba. Don't you want to do that pre-combat? That seems like bizarre sequencing. Alright, well, against Dredge, if you can get like good life like this, you can like if you can get your life gain online, you can be in a good spot. So let's go ahead and start attacking. Narcomoeba already chump blocking, warrior token getting through. That seems pretty good for us. Leave the land in hand because I guess why not? Keep them guessing. Otherworldly Gazed has been flashed back from our opponent now. We can see another Narcomoeba has hit the grave. Goodness, that's 3 from 4, right? And opponent concedes. All right, let's go. We like somehow scraped through, even though there were some pretty unfortunate spots there. All right, so the best I can see here is a dredgeless Dredge deck, Sultai Midrange, which isn't in our opponent's color pie. Just from interaction, they can have Thoughtseize, creature destruction. I guess our opponent shouldn't have Withered Bloom command from what we've seen. Alright, so I think Rest in Peace is good. I think Fiend Slayer Paladin is a consideration, but potentially too slow. Our flying sort of loses a bit of value, so we can remove 1 Griffspoon, I think, pretty safely. After that, I might just take out Hateful Eidolon, forget about the Fiend Slayer Paladins, keep it simple. We're up a game, so we don't need to do too much, right? Thoughtseize should be really good here. I don't want to be boarding those out. So we see a Thoughtseize hand, 1 aura. Yeah, we'll keep this. This looks pretty darn good. Opponent mulls to 6. Our opponent with Stitches Supplier. We see another Thoughtseize. Silver Smoke Ghoul to the grave for opponent. Alright, well, let's not for the faint of hearted. Let's see what we're working against. Both these targets are terrible. I guess we'll throw the Haunted Dead. That's really awkward. Underground River from our opponent. And attacking with Stitch's Supplier. I mean, we don't have to kill this thing. We can just leave it sitting there. This, however, should be a pretty good play from us. And I don't know how our opponent beats that. From now on, they're going to have to hardcast everything, and things become a lot harder there from there. They're getting hardcast, like, prized amalgam fine, though. Haunting Dead, pays to return it, gets a token. Alright. Well, it's good we got rid of that effect anyway. Suppose it's a pretty straightforward attack for 4, play prized amalgam, and then I think we ignore Thoughtseize, just SRAM Sentinel's Eyes, maybe? Probably SRAM plus Selfless Savior if we're given the option. Tomescale are targeting us, so they're going to start milling us now with these effects. This Clearwater pathway end up in the graveyard or something? What's going on here? Oh, it must have. Okay, I did not see that. Prize Amalgam in hand. The upside to playing SRAM seems pretty good. Let's go ahead and do that. We probably want to see a land from our opponent or like something they can't cast. I don't know. Attacking here. Alright, so no blocks from us. Does not want to block with this one. Alright, we finally hit our mana source. Thank goodness. Alright, and look to cast this one. Look to yield there. I guess our creature's in a pretty reasonable spot. Looks like our opponent is hard yielding this one. We're on 8. Opponent has like a pretty small board. We got Vigilance. Go ahead and attack. Alright, so Stitch's Supplier bites the dust. Tomescale targeting us. We lose a few more cards. Opponent attacking in the air now. They're like really just hitting stuff they can't play. That's pretty wild. Alright, so this one. Guess we can go a little bit wide here. We've got this creature to help protect. Going wide from this spot is probably fine. We brick on any other auras, unfortunately. Hit another land. Guess I played Cave preemptively there. I think I would have ended up playing it anyway to hold up the Izzet life bounty. Our opponent concedes. Alright, rest in peace, you wonderful, beautiful card. Thank you for that one. On to the final match. Alright, here we are for the final match. We won the die roll. We are on the play. We see the 7. We've got 3 creatures, 1 mana, 2 mana auras. I think you can keep this. How many land are we running? We are running 20 land. I think we have to mulligan, hit our second land drop. Alright, well this looks keepable. We'll go ahead and keep it. There's no Blood Moon to worry about in this format, so we'll bottom planes. Should be fine. Opponent mulled to 6 as well, which is helpful. To 5. Alright, so a lead on our Godless Shrine, taking some damage here. Did a quick look. It looks like our opponent plays a lot of Gruul midrange. Although not today. I probably prefer not Gruul, to be honest. I think we can just attack with our dog. Maybe then like Cartouche as leads. That or we just like flood the board. Alright, flood the board seems fine. Sorry for knocking that. I need to stop doing that. It just like hangs so low and close to my deck. Spectral Sailor, we are versing a spirit stack. Curious Obsession. Alright. It's an annoying one. When it's gonna start that card draw train. Alright, if he's playing Faceless Haven, you'd have to assume that this is the version of the deck that is just mono blue, right? I think we can go in here. We might even want to just like hold this back, block, make Curious Obsession fall off. So we can attack wide and hold back this bigger guy as H blocker. That should be pretty reasonable. I'm going to play as Mausoleum Wanderer now. And Curious Obsession now falls off as we were planning. Pretty nice for us. I think we just send the whole team in. I'm not worried about like losing these creatures wide. Just put as much pressure as possible on our opponent while we're drawing dead in these mana sources. Rata Chains from our opponent, buffing the Mausoleum Wanderer. Kind of blocking like that, and that's the only creature they're blocking with. That's fine. We still gain life there. We still deal a good amount of damage. 2 cards in hand for our opponent. We reveal that we were holding nothing all along. Board state's still reasonable. Now our opponent's got the Curious Obsession joining the party again, getting that value. Do we want to like start trying to race them instead of all of this sort of stuff? Oh goodness, we're like flooded out again. I think we attack wide again, hold back our flying blocker, make another Curious Obsession fall off, and just, you know, try to grind our opponent for value that way. Opponent's attacking in with this one. I think a block is fine. They can Supreme Phantom, however, and sort of get us a little bit because they get the ETB and the buff. That's frustrating. I don't think we can afford to lose that. So give it Indestructible. It's the best we can do from a bad situation. If we can hit Vigilance off the top Sentinel's Eyes, that puts us in a pretty good spot. Get this one past Counter Magic. And just past the turn, we haven't got any good attacks anymore. This opponent really got Lofty Denial here, right? No, that costs 2 mana. Alright, cool. I think there's one that they can play which costs 1 mana when you control flying creatures. Maybe that's just modern, I'm not sure. Opponent attacking with this guy again. We'll just go ahead and block the same way. Alright. Sure, our opponent's got a creature to throw down, Ascendant Spirit. Alright, so this guy's going to start getting leveled up as well. Could be troubling for us, but we've got Floofy Paws and we can start getting some like value off our auras, right? Oh, we don't have any aura that triggers. Oh shit. Griffspoon doesn't trigger anything. Of course. Of course. Why would we hit a single aura this game? Goodness, it is hard to pilot when you draw only mana sources. That one like has to be played out too. Alright, we'll pass, and we're in a pretty rough spot now. I think the play was like, don't block. Wait, this is level up instant speed? That's a lot stronger than I thought it was. Alright, opponent's attacking pretty hardcore here. I don't think we've got any real blocks. We could like trade off, but that's obviously not a winning position. We're looking at like any aura here would be amazing. That is not an aura. Oh my god, deck. What the hell is this rubbish you're putting me through? So they've got a level up here as well. Geist Snare? Are you kidding me? We can pay the 3 though. Yeah, I told you they had one they could do it like 1 mana, right? So they currently have 3 snow mana as well, so they can do an active here, making that 4/4. Got 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have to block with Floofy Paws and somehow hope to survive from that point. It's pretty rough. Our opponent casts Spectral Sailor, which is worth 2 damage. They lose a trigger on the Mausoleum Wanderer, but obviously the damage pays off. And just Rattle Chains as well. Holy smokes. We have like a lot of sideboard cards here, right? All our Deadweights, all our Fatal Pushes suddenly become very, very strong. Opponent sending in with the team. Any of these guys not got flying? So we can like block there. Oh, that's pretty handy. If we block there, we take 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wow, so it's like perfectly lethal. Is there any other way we can do this? Everything's got flying. All right, so we're just in a bit of trouble then. All right, GG's to our opponent. All right, cards to worry about from our opponent's sideboard, mostly Brazen Borrower. I think that's about all. Witness Protection, what the hell does this do? It's probably not too bad. It doesn't make our auras fall off. Okay. I think we want to sideboard a little something like this. Bring in our Deadweights, bring in our Fatal Pushes, take out our Thoughtseize because we don't really want to remove the creatures from the hand. We'll just deal with them once they're on the board. That means drawing a Thoughtseize late game into an open hand is not a bad thing. Kai's Ghost Form seems pretty bad when their interaction is Bounce Effect, and then we'll just trim on Hateful Eidolon, all that glitters, that'll do it. Alright, so we see this one creature, a couple of auras, 3 mana, seems like a keep. Got some interaction, got some stuff we want to be doing. Opponent with Ascended Spirit. Find Pathway. I think it's just all that glitters attack. Seems fine to me. I think we can hold off on Fatal Push till maybe they spend mana on this, or maybe they play a different creature we want to deal with. Probably the main thing we want to do is if they play like a Curious Obsession, we want to counter that Curious Obsession by destroying their creature. Stop all that like card draw. Alright, opponent plays Witness Protection, so this loses lifelink and it's sacrifice. I think that's okay. I don't mind that. Alright, with the wonderful magic of layering, we should suddenly gain flying, gain lifelink. Should work that way. I think our opponent's got another counterspell from the way they were like just pausing a little bit there. Probably like control a flyer, pay 3. Oh, that doesn't work, right? Yeah. So we should just be able to resolve this, and it's good against everything but Spell Pierce. Geist Snare. Costs 1 less to cast if you control a spirit. So it's not even a flyer, it's just for spirits. It's pretty frustrating. At least that's out of their hand. Our Fatal Push is like live, right? Legitimate business person. What a name. We're getting the business done, YouTube. Getting it done. Find Godless Shrine? Jesus. Alright, well, we'll go ahead and attack again. I don't think we even want a Fatal Push. I think we hold this up in response to our opponent sinking mana into it. If they play another creature, maybe we'll destroy the other creature. Sure, let's just remove this one now. Oops. Alright, we'll take a life to remove this one. Now they're spending mana on it. We can play for Geist Snare with all our mana we've got up here. And it plays Spectral Sailor. Alright, here comes the Onslaught. Snow Island. Attacks. Alright. So they can activate this for 4 mana and draw a card. That's all their mana though. They wouldn't be able to do anything else. We continue to flood. Man, what is it with this matchup here where we're just only drawing mana? It's pretty annoying. Godless Shrine in tapped and pass. Opponents at 5, we're at a healthy 19. We just need a little something to get us over the line. Shucklegeist from our opponent. So now they're going to be able to tap our creature. That's annoying. Well, I'll go to combat. And they're going to tap it. I mean, they could have like blocked it out, but that's cool. I accidentally skipped through playing out other creatures, so that's pretty bad. Now I'm like playing into Brazen Borrower, which is pretty weak for me. Apologies. I didn't realize I was skipping through the entire turn there. Pretty annoying. Attacks, and I assume they're just going to hold up and interact. Yeah, whichever way you want to do it, that makes sense. All right, well, that's lovely. That's absolutely wonderful. Play this guy, enough to pay for counter magic. Kind of doing this in response. They're like one-off dead. I'm fine holding this up until we hit like an extra enchantment that we can hit our opponent with lethal with. So I'm okay with that. That's fine, because we can just give protection from blue, attack in the air, and defeat them if we... Oh wait, we could have... If we do that there, we lose the 1 power from all that glitters though. Opponent just passing straight back to us. Alright, well that's a pretty decent find. Play this one. Play this one. I think it's reasonable to attack with this one at this point. If they trade it with a bunch of blockers. Yeah, let's give it pro blue. Let's put them to 1. That's really going to threaten them. Shacklegeist. And do it again in response. Lol. I mean, okay, but how do you win? Alright, pass the turn. Opponent draws a card with Spectral Sailor. Not what we want to see. Alright, can we get any value off this guy over here though? Like, just an enchantment. Get some value going. Would be nice. We've barely gotten any value off of our like 2 mana creatures this league. It's been like the show of the 1 mana creatures. So Shacklegeist serving in. Mausoleum Wanderer. I guess they've got a couple of taps here. This one's going to take a little longer to get there, given how wide they're going on their board. And before we even draw, they're just tapping this down. Okay, now we have something. At least it's interaction. I think in response to the Spectral Sailor, we just kill that. Yeah, whatever. Whichever way I have to do it. God. We just kill it. That's their card draw off the table. They have Rattle Chains as well. Oh my god, their mana is lined up perfectly this game. Goodness gracious, what it would be to have some description of tempo. Alright, Curious Obsession. Yeah, this is definitely a loss here. I think this is bad beats. I think our opponent drew much better than we did. I mean, those games are going to happen, but it just sucks that it happens when I'm recording for YouTube, right? Go to -3. Okay, well, we went 2 and 3, so not the best result. Oh, there's the middle finger, guys. There's the Ethereal Armor off the top. Sorry, the Cartouche of Solidarity off the top. You get Ethereal Armor here. It's just too late against like all of this with the tap down mechanic. So all in all, I think the deck list ran really, really sweet. It seemed a lot stronger than these green-white variants that I was going for. We didn't have like proper heroic going on. Maybe I should be looking to Cybordian Trailblazer more than I have, just off the heroic side of things. Maybe against that Izzet Prowess deck, it was actually right to bring this in and I just missed that. So sorry for that one. It's probably like a little bit better into their red removal spells than, for example, these guys are like these enchantment creatures. Overall, I think the deck was very, very strong. a lot stronger than the other variant, as I was saying previously. It's possible for us to like include a few more of these Agandro type effects. I suppose this is going like super conservative, making sure you never double it up on the battlefield. Realistically, that's going to be like a very rare occasion, and maybe you could swap out a planes for another one of these. But you can see that the deck is very, very white centric with a splash of black. I think the pathway lands work quite well because of this, because you can turn 1 Concealed Courtyard, Godless Shrine, or Cave for your black mana, and then everything taps for white at that point forward. The one weakness, I think, to this deck is its ability to attack through chump blockers. I think as lead is quite helpful for that, giving us protection from a color so we can attack aggressively. There's potential for us to change up like numbers in the sideboard as well. Maybe to give our creatures protection in response to an effect, our enchantments as well. But yeah, overall happy with the league. We'll rest and regroup for another one in a couple of leagues' time. So thank you all very much for watching. I do think this is possibly the deck to be playing going forward. So we'll continue with this one for a while until I potentially do or don't change my mind. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know down in the comment section below. So next time, have a wonderful day, and I will see you then.